Now, I want to tell you what I'll do to get this economy going again.
Ashley Parker follows Mitt Romney's campaign as Republican candidates make closing arguments before Tuesday night's Iowa caucuses. And the primary season draws a different type of tourist to Iowa, the political tourist.
I'll take a couple of questions, if we can, from some Iowans first.
I'm covering Governor Mitt Romney for the New York Times, and we're here today at what feels like the end of a very long road for those of us who have been traveling with Governor Romney by bus all over the state. And right behind me, actually down there, you can see Governor Romney just finished giving his sort of closing argument speech today. It was a sort of a more subdued, lower energy event than what we've been seeing all week, but it still is a reflection of his confidence.
He went on the Today Show shortly after being inaugurated and said that if he's not able to turn around the economy in 3 years, he'd be looking at a one-term proposition. I'm here to collect. He's out.
Governor Romney, 4 years ago, he finished second place in Iowa, but it was sort of a horrible defeat for him that, was the beginning of the end of his campaign. And his campaign aides, sort of readily admit that they have searing memories from 2008. They were very cautious going into Iowa. Up until recently, he hadn't visited the state that much. They kind of were trying to manage expectations, and he kept a kind of arm's length distance. But since he touched down there, when we've seen him and his campaign get increasingly confident. He will never say, I think I'm going to win Iowa. I think that'd just be poor form for a politician who's trying to manage expectations, but it's still just the rhetoric you hear from him and his aides and even his wife Ann when she introduces him.
This is a great day. It's an exciting day. I'm thrilled that you're all here, and I'm thrilled that some of you will be going out and doing your civic duty tonight.
Of course, there's also a lot of scenarios for disappointing finishes in this last week. The crowds he's been getting, the way he's been speaking, the way his campaign has been speaking has kind of elevated expectations. I think people are expecting Governor Romney to get first or second based on the polls that came out. I think also it depends who finishes ahead of him is a real important question. Someone like Newt Gingrich finishing ahead of him could be a big deal because it could give Newt Gingrich the momentum to sort of revive what has been viewed as a collapsing campaign. There's other people who might finish ahead of him who could still be considered a victory for him, like for instance Ron Paul, although Governor Romney was actually asked, is a Ron Paul victory in Iowa a victory for you? And Governor Romney said, no. He's in it to win it.
Good morning. How do things look, Senator?
Santorum, nice to meet you. Good to see you.
Don Boone and his friends shook hands with Rick Santorum and were interviewed dozens of times by reporters from around the world.
Japan, Canada, Great Britain. So that's about all I can think of right now.
But there's a catch.
I actually live in a small town north of Kansas City called Liberty, Missouri.
He's what some call a political tourist. And as candidates here in Iowa make their last-minute pitches, there's more from out of state than you might expect. In fact, when Mr. Santorum visited Polk City, Iowa on Monday, the place was so full of out-of-town press and voters, the locals were relegated to behind the counter.
They said they trust us not to get into the ice cream.
I'll take a couple of questions, if we can, from some Iowans first.
At events across Iowa, there are a few types. Some are true believers who come just to see their chosen candidate.
Our vehicle is covered with stickers. People will ask questions. People come up to us and ask, why do you support Ron Paul?
For others, it's just happenstance.
Grandparents are out here, so we came out.
But Mr. Boone came for the show. With 3 friends, he drove for over 3 hours to spend the day sampling candidates.
I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, and we got here at about 7.
And while the Missouri primary is not until March, Mr. Boone is carefully considering his options. He and his friends may be focused on politics this week, but it is hardly their only travel destination.
We take a couple of really good trips. We've been to the lumberjack festivals, we've been to the prison rodeos, and so on.
How does this compare to a prison rodeo?
No comparison.